Okay, this is a four-part question for the function f of x equals x squared minus 6x plus 3. Part 1, say whether it's u-shaped or n-shaped. Part 2, say whether it has a maximum value or a minimum value. Part 3, calculate the maximum or minimum value. And Part 4, state the domain and range in both words and symbols. Okay, well, we'll start off with one at a time. Start off with number 1. Say whether it's u-shaped or n-shaped. Well, f of x is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 3. And as most things with quadratic graphs, we're going to start off by identifying a, b, and c. So a is the number in front of x squared, so that's going to be 1. B is the number in front of x, that's negative 6. And c is this constant on its own, c is equal to 3. Okay, well now, since 1 is positive, okay, since a equals 1 is a positive number, since a is a positive number, this graph will be U-shaped. Okay. Now, if a had been negative, the graph would be N-shaped. If a had been negative, the graph was N-shaped. Okay? Alright, so that's how to answer part 1. I say whether it has a maximum value or a minimum value. Well, let's think about this very briefly. It doesn't take long. We said it's U-shaped, okay? So just imagine what that looks like, okay? Does it have a bottom or a top? Well, it has a bottom, okay? That's the bottom, okay? So it has a minimum. And I think that's just obvious just from looking at it. That's the lowest point it gets to. The minimum means, does it have a bottom? Does it bottom out? Is there a lowest point? And there is. It has a minimum. Okay, so that's part 2. Part 3 is where we have to do a little bit of calculation. It's calculate the maximum or minimum value. Well, the maximum or minimum value is the y value at the vertex. Okay, so we're going to start off by finding the vertex. That's how we're going to do this. Okay, so let's stick a pen. And we're going to have a minimum value. So the minimum value is the y-coordinate of the vertex. Now, if it had been an N-shaped graph, then we would change this. We'd say the maximum value is the y-coordinate of the vertex. It would be a maximum value, but it's the same thing. Minimum and maximum value, when they occur, they're given by the y-coordinate of the vertex. So first find the x-coordinate. Okay. Find the x-coordinate of the vertex. Well, we do that with xv is equal to minus b over 2a. And if we scroll back up, we're going to see that b was negative 6 and a was 1. So it's going to be minus negative 6 over 2 times 1. Minus 6 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now that's the x-coordinate of the vertex. The x-coordinate of the vertex is 3. We want to find the y-coordinate. And to do that, what we do, we're going to plug this into the equation. Don't like using the word plug. Correct word is substitute. this into the equation of the function and that will give you your y. Okay? That's going to give you your y value. Okay, so let's go back and look at the question. F of x was x squared minus 6x plus 3. F of x equals x squared minus 6x plus 3. Let's just check that that's right. X squared minus 6x plus 3. And we're not going to plug in the xv value. So we're going to have, everywhere we have x, we're going to plug in 3. F of 3 is going to be 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 3. 3 squared is 9, minus 6 by 3 is minus 18, plus 3. Well, we can add the positives together. 9 and 3 is 12, and 12 minus 18 is minus 6. So in other words, that's the y value of the vertex. Is equal to minus 6. So that is going to be, what did we say? We said it would be a maximum or a minimum? We said it would be a minimum. So the minimum value of this function is negative 6. Okay, that's the minimum value of the function. Okay, so that's the first 3 parts of it done. And the fourth part of this question will state the domain and range in both words and symbols. Okay, so we're on to part 4. Okay, so the first thing was domain. Well, the domain of all polynomial functions, and therefore all quadratic functions, including this one, is all real numbers. Now, the domain is given by the x's, so what we say is x is an element of the real numbers. Okay, so what do these symbols mean? Well, this one means is an element of. Okay, so x is an element of, a member of, an example of. And this symbol here, this R with the line down the side, down the left hand side, stands for the real numbers. It's a number family and includes all the numbers that you can think of. Okay, it includes whole numbers, it includes fractions, it includes square roots, it includes positives and negatives, and it includes reciprocals. Okay, so the real numbers is a big group of numbers, the biggest group of numbers that we know of so far. You'll learn more in Algebra 2, but for now, x can be any number, any real number. Okay. The second part of this, though, is a little bit more complicated, so let's think about it. We're going to talk about the range. Okay, so to figure out the range, write down what you know about, or remember what you know about this function already. It's a U-shaped graph. Okay, so it's a U-shaped graph, and it has a bottom at negative 6. Its vertex, the x-coordinate of the vertex was 3, and the y-coordinate was negative 6. So let's say that's 3, and let's say this is negative 6. Well, that's going to be the bottom. If we can draw it here, 3, negative 6, that's going to be the vertex, and we know it's U-shaped, so it's going to be that shape there. Maybe it's not going to be as narrow as that. Maybe it's going to be a little bit wider, but it doesn't matter. Okay, that's the vertex. Well, if you look at that, none of the numbers that are on this line go below -6. Okay, this graph always stays above -6. In other words, remember this is the y-axis. That's the x-axis. In other words, the numbers on the y-axis that are on this graph, the numbers that belong on this graph, are always above -6. This graph is always above -6. Okay? So what we say is the range is all real numbers greater than or equal to, I did say above, but it includes -6 as well, greater than or equal to -6. And we have to write this in symbols, and the way we write it is y, because y is the letter that's used for the range. So y is a real number such that y is greater than or equal to -6. So the only numbers that we're allowed, the only y values, the only numbers that come out of this function are always going to be greater than or equal to -6. -6 is the smallest number that that function will give us, and we can see it if we look at the graph. Okay? So there's a lot in that. It's a 12-minute video almost. So there's a lot on domain and range and different bits and pieces, but I hope you take your time to watch it slowly. Just watch it bit by bit. Okay, thank you.